Torah-observant Christians are often labeled as legalists, but what is a legalist? Here's the Oxford Dictionary definition. Legalism, excessive adherence to law or formula. And in theology, dependence on moral law rather than on personal religious faith. You see, but neither of these definitions are true for Torah-observant Christians. In fact, you might be interested to know that the term legalist does not appear in the Bible one time. Apparently, nobody throughout all of biblical history thought that it was a bad thing to be obedient to God, nor did they think there was such a thing as being too obedient to God. And I know what's going to happen next. Somebody's going to bring up Paul and say he spoke about legalism even if he didn't use the word. No, he didn't, though. Paul fervently taught the Torah. I have an entire playlist with hundreds of videos to prove that. The only thing he ever spoke out against was following man-made laws that were built around the Torah, the fences that people had built around the Torah. That's the exact same thing that Jesus did. All of Jesus' teachings can be found in the Old Testament. Same with Paul. Paul's just a little bit harder to understand. Hence why you're warned about his writings in 2 Peter 3:15 through 17. But let's get back to this Torah-observant legalism stuff. I don't know one single Torah-observant Christian that doesn't rely on their faith. In fact, the reason we try to obey the Torah is because of our faith. In 1 John 3:4, it says, "We love God because he loved us first." But love to everybody is different. This is why we have to use God's definition of love and not our own. Time and time again in the Bible, you're warned not to do what's right in your own eyes. Deuteronomy 12:8, for instance. So we need to love God how God asked us to love him and not love God in a way that's right in our own eyes. Luckily, 1 John 5 tells us how to love God. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. Jesus said, "My teaching is not mine, but his who sent me." God gave Moses the Torah, and Jesus taught and clarified the Torah. Jesus' commandments are Moses' commandments, and Moses' commandments are God's commandments. They all came from the same source. And in John 14, Jesus said, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments." We keep Jesus' commandments and Moses' commandments and God's commandments because we love them. And that's not legalism. I may warn people about the potential consequences of their willful disobedience to God's commandments, but that's not legalism. Scripture tells us to warn people. You can call it legalism all you want, but I'm just doing what Scripture tells us to do.